Hello everyone, welcome to the session of Fluid Power Systems. I am Purushottam, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore. Okay. In the previous session, we learned the rotary actuators. In that, we learned the construction and working of the torque cylinder and pair diaphragm cylinder. After that, the vane actuators, then rotary cylinders. Okay. Then air motors, what are air motors as well as the advantages of air motors. In today's session is about air motors and types of air motors and pneumatic control valves. Okay. Air motors. So, just for the glance, air motors are the devices where the pneumatic energy contained in the air which is received by receiver, this receiver which is going to convert into mechanical energy in the form of rotary motion, which is called as air motors. Okay. Then these air motors are very competitive with the IC engines, hydraulic motors as well as the electric motors, based on the applications where the power which ranges between 15 to 20 kilowatt. So, the applications where the power range is 50 to 20 kilowatt, where air motors which is more advantage than the hydraulic motors, electric motors as well as the IC engines. Then coming to the advantages, the initial cost is low, then running cost is also low, then the safety that can be used in hazardous place, then high power to weight ratio. That is the most useful thing in the air motors. That means we can produce the high power compared to the weight of the components. Okay, that is the one of the main thing. Then that can be run for longer periods, then which doesn't cause the overheating in the components in air motors. These are the some of the advantages of air motors. Then coming to types. So, types of air motors. In types of air motors, we are having piston motors, vane motors, then diaphragm motors, then linear motors. So, under types of air motors, we are having piston motor, vane motor, diaphragm motor and linear motors. So, the piston motors and the vane motors, these two are the majorly used in industrial drives. So, these two are the air motors which are majorly used. Okay. Let us see the construction and working of these motors. Okay. Now, the first one is the piston motor. So, in piston motor which is majorly used in industrial drives, in this we are having two designs. First one is radial design and second one is inline design. Radial design as well as the inline design. So, coming to radial design, here you can see this, the cylinders which is arranged radially as well as this will be the center one. So, this is nothing but this will be the crank. So, this one which is crank. Okay. Here you can see this, all the connecting rods or piston rods which is connected to the common crank here. So, the connecting rods or piston rods from the cylinders which is going to connect it to the common crank here, common crank. So, then we are going to use the inlet port and outlet port here. So, from the inlet port, so whatever the compressed air is present, which is going to do the power stroke, then in the outlet port, whatever the exhausted air, the air has to be exact which is going to go out through the outlet port. So, the power stroke which is going to complete by using inlet port, then the exhaust stroke which is going to done by using outlet port here. So, okay, the piston which is going to reciprocate, then that reciprocating motion which is going to convert it into rotary motion here. So reciprocating motion which is going to convert it into rotary motion. So with the effect of all the pistons, so which is connected to the common crank, so when these pistons are doing power stroke and exhaust stroke, the crank which starts to rotate in the radial design. So coming to inline design, here also you can see this will be the camshaft, here also the cylinders which are arranged in line. So the cylinders are in the same line, so that's why which is called as inline design. Here the piston rod which is connected to the camshaft, so when the piston which starts to reciprocate, that will cause the camshaft to rotate. So the piston rods which is connected to the camshaft, when the piston which starts to reciprocate, then the camshaft which starts to rotate. So in inline design. Then coming to application of these piston motors, so these piston motors, so which is used in fractional power motors. So fractional power motors, so that means in portable or bench tools, so we are going for the piston motors, as well as light lifting or hoisting or material handling, then we go for the piston motors. In high capacity motors, that means when this piston motors which is employed at high capacity motors, which is used in general drives to carry heavy or fluctuating loads. To carry heavy or fluctuating loads, we are going to use the high capacity motors in the under piston motors. Okay, this will be the construction and working and as well as the applications of the piston motors. Then the next one is vane motors. So the vane motors which is lighter, less in weight and compact in design, as well as so which is cheaper or economical compared to piston motors. Okay, so which is having lighter, the vane motors are lighter, compact and cheaper compared to the piston motors, and which is going to produce a power up to 20 kilowatt. This will be cause high power to weight ratio. That means for the given amount of weight of the components, we are going to produce the high power by using vane motors. Next, coming to the construction and working. Okay, so this will be the rotor which is having a radial slots. So the rotor which is having a radial slots. Then this will be the rotor which is connected to the shaft. Which is interconnected to the shaft. So when the rotor starts to rotate, which in turn rotates the shaft. Then rotor which is having a radial slot. Within this radial slot, the vane which starts to slide. These are the vanes. The vanes which starts to slide inside this radial slot, and the vanes are sealed to the wall of the cam-ring. You can see this, all the vanes are sealed to the walls of the cam-ring. So by using spring force or pneumatic energy. So here you can see the two ports, port A and port P. So when the pressurized air or pneumatic energy supplied through the port A, then which is going to cause the rotor to rotate in clockwise direction. Okay, in the same way, if you are going to supply the pneumatic energy through the port B, then the vanes which starts to rotate in the anti-clockwise direction, which in turn rotates the rotor. So the vane which is start to rotate in anti-clockwise direction when you supplied the pneumatic energy through the port B. So by this way, if you can get the clockwise direction of the rotation as well as the counterclockwise direction of the rotation by supplying the pneumatic energy through the port A and the port P. Then as well as you can see this will be the rotor, and this one which is called as pressure chamber, where the pressurized pneumatic energy or compressed air is present. This will be called as pressure chamber. If you can observe this rotor which is having some eccentricity with the pressure chamber. That means the pressure chamber, so this may be the center for the pressure chamber, okay, which is not concentric with each other. So the pressure chamber and the rotor which is not concentric, so which is having some eccentricity, I will call this as E, eccentricity. So by varying this eccentricity, we can vary the speed of the vane motor. We can vary the speed of the vane motor by varying this eccentricity as well as the pneumatic energy. So these type of motors which is called as variable speed vane motors. Okay. So by varying the eccentricity as well as the pneumatic energy, so we can vary the speed of the motor. That's why which is called as variable speed vane motors. Then coming to the application in lower capacity motors, that means low capacity vane motors, which is used in portable air tools. In high capacity motors, high capacity vane motors, which is used in high capacity air tools or high air tools as well as the pump drives. In pump drives as well as the high air tools, we are going to use the vane motors. So this will complete the construction and working of piston motor as well as the vane motor. Diaphragm motors. So diaphragm motors, which is nothing but a reciprocating device with a small stroke. Here the reciprocating motion which is going to convert it into rotary motion by using pole and ratchet mechanism. So by using pole and ratchet mechanism, we are going to convert the rotary reciprocating motion into rotary motion. So this one, the construction figure, which is already studied in paired diaphragm actuators. Under paired diaphragm actuators, we see in this figure. So here, so to get the reciprocating motion with small stroke, so here we are going to convert reciprocation motion into rotary motion by using pole and ratchet mechanism. Then, so that means which is going to impart high thrust. We can call this as high thrust device. When you required high torque at low speed, then we are going to use the diaphragm motors. So one of the applications of diaphragm motors which is used in valve actuators. Diaphragm motors which is used in valve actuators. So then coming to the next one, the last one, linear motors. So as we know that linear actuators, which is called as air cylinder linear actuator, which is going to convert reciprocating motion into linear motion. Okay, if we adopt for the self-continuous reciprocating motion, so the reciprocating motion which is limited, when the power stroke comes, so extension will take place, then when the exhaust stroke, the retraction will take place. So if we adopt for the self-continuous reciprocation, then which is called as linear motors. Here you can see this. So here we are going to use the double acting cylinder. Continuous reciprocating motion that can be achieved by using double acting cylinder. So with a trip valve or some special devices which is having switch. So here I am going to use the double acting cylinder, so which is having piston and piston rod which is connected to the crank. This will be the crank. Now when the pressure energy which enters the cylinder through the inlet port, then the piston which starts to extend which starts to extend. At the same time, by using trip wall at the end of the stroke, we can maintain the continuous reciprocation. So when the piston which reaches the end of the stroke automatically, so from this port again the pneumatic energy which is going to push the piston to the retraction stroke. By this way, we can maintain continuous reciprocation of the piston. By using trip valves or some special devices which is having switches. So from this, when this continuous reciprocation will takes place, then the crank starts to rotate. The crank which is going to rotate in clockwise direction. So when the pistons start to reciprocate continuously, so the piston rod which is connected to the crank, as the piston reciprocates, the crank which starts to rotate in linear motors. Here the direct reciprocating output that can be converted into crank rotation. So this will be about the linear motors. So we studied air motors, types of air motors, and construction and working of piston motor, vane motor, diaphragm motor, linear motor. Okay, next we move on to the pneumatic control valves. So what you mean by valve? Valve is a mechanical device which is going to regulate or control the fluid energy physical parameters in a pneumatic power system. That means in a fluid power system, if you are going to use the fluid as air or gas, then which is called as pneumatic control valves, which is going to control or regulate the fluid energy parameters, that is maybe direction or the speed or the flow rate, all those things. Okay, under this pneumatic control valves, so we are having three major things. First one is directional control valves. Then second one is pressure control valves. Then third one is flow control valves. Okay, these are the three major things we can see under the pneumatic control valves. Next, let us see one by one. The first one is directional control valve. Based on number of ports and switching positions, we can see the classification like 2x2 valve and 3x2 valve and 4x2 valve and 4x3 valve. So coming to here, 2x2 valve. Here this will be the simplest valve. So based on the number of ports and switching position, which is called as 2x2, just because which is having two ports, this will be the pump line, this will be the cylinder line A. Pump line which is given by P, cylinder line which is given by A. So which is having two ports and two position. Okay, so this will be called as, so this one which is called as normally closed position. So normally closed position, that means the fluid from the pump which is not going to reach the outlet A. So which is called as normally closed position. Then another position which is called, this one which is called as normally open position. Here the fluid energy from the pump which is going to reach the outlet port A. So which is called as normally open position. We are having two ports and two position, hence we can call this as 2x2 valve. Next, three-way two position. That means we are going to use the three ports and two positions are present. Here we can see this will be the pump port, outlet port and reservoir port. Three ports and two position. This will be position number 1, position number 2. So for the explanation purpose, I have written separately. So these type of valves which is used in single acting cylinder. So when the fluid which is going to enter to the port A through the pump line, the extension will take place. Then at that time the reservoir port which is closed. Then due to the spring action in single acting cylinder, we are going to use the spring. Due to the spring action, the retraction will take place. At that time, the fluid in the outlet port A, which is going to reach the reservoir through the port R, at this time the port of pump which is going to close. So this will be for the extension, this will be for the retraction in single acting cylinder. So this is having 3 ports and 2 position, hence which is called as 3/2 valve. 3/2 valve. Next, 4 ways 2 position. That means which is having 4 ports and 2 position. The 4 ports are pump line and outlet port A, outlet port B, then exhaust port. 4 ports, 2 positions. Here 2 positions are, so first one for the extension, another for the retraction. So this type of 4/2 valves which is used in double acting cylinders. Double acting cylinders. Here you can see this at the extension port. So the fluid from the pump line which is going to reach the outlet port A, that will cause the extension. Then the already fluid compressed air present in the cylinder which is going to enter to the exhaust port, entered the exhaust port from the outlet port B. So this will be the first position. On the second position, the fluid from the pump which is going to enter the outlet port B, then the fluid in the outlet port A which is going to come for the exhaust port, which is having 4 ports and 2 positions, so which is normally used in double acting cylinder, hence which is called as 4/2 valve. 4/2 valve. Then the next one is 4-way 3 positions. That means here we are having 4 ports and 3 positions. So on either side of the position, the fluid energy is acting, hence this position which is called as center of position. Center of position. This type of valves which is also used in double acting cylinders. So when you want to hold the load, or if you want to hold the extension or retraction, then we go for the 4/3 valves. So in this center of position, if you observe this, all the ports are closed. The pump port, tank port and outlet port A and outlet port B, all the ports are closed here. Then at the first position, so in this position what will happen? The fluid from the pump which is going to enter the outlet port A, then the fluid in the outlet port B which is going to enter the tank. In the first position, this will cause the extension. If you want to hold this one, then by using lever or some actuation, we can turn down into the center of position. Then, so if you want to get the retraction, then the fluid from the pump which is going to enter the outlet port B. So the fluid already present in the outlet port A which is going to enter the tank. So by this way, we can hold the extension or retraction in double acting cylinder by using this center of position. So this is based on the number of ports and switching positions. Now, based on the form or shape of construction, we are having puppet valve, sliding spool valve and shuttle valves. So let us see the puppet valve and sliding spool valve. So this will be the construction schematic representation of the puppet valve. Here we are going to use the ball or disc or cone as a puppet. This will be the pump port, this will be the outlet port A, and this one will be the push button. This one is push button. Then the ball which is held in position by using this spring action as well as the seats. The ball which is held in this seating position, so by using this spring force. So when the fluid which is going to enter from the pump port, so which is going to try to lift the ball, but the ball which is seated in this position which is going to lock the or block the fluid energy from the pump port P to the outlet port A. Okay, so if you want to transfer the fluid from pump port P to the A, then I am going to use the push button. So if you are going to use the push button, press the push button, then so the ball which is going to move downwards move downwards, so due to which there will be space created between the seating and ball, then the fluid from the pump port P, which is going to enter the port A. Port A. So then again, if you release this push button, due to the spring action, the ball again going to arrest the seating position. So from this, the fluid from the pump port P, which is going to block the port A. So this will be the working of puppet valve. So this will be the symbol used for the puppet valve. As I told before, when you push the push button, then the fluid which is going to enter from pump to port A. Then when you release this, then the fluid which is not going to enter from pump to fluid port A. Okay. The next one is sliding spool. Sliding spool. Here we are going to use the spool. So this will be the spool. This will be called as lands. This will be called as lands, or we can call it as seals. Okay. So this spool which is going to held in position by using the spring action. By using the spring action. Now, so when you are going to push the push button here, push button, then the fluid from the port 1 which is going to enter the port 2. The fluid from port 1 which is going to enter the port 2. So when you are going to release this push button, due to spring force action, this land which is going to block the port 1 and which is going to release the port 3 like this. Then the fluid which is going to enter from port 2 to port 3. When you push this push button, so the fluid which is going to enter from port 1 to port 2, when you release this push button, then the fluid which is going to enter from port 2 to port 3. That means by using sliding mechanism, we can regulate the direction of the fluid in the sliding spool valve. Here this will be the symbol which is used for the sliding spool valve. At the first position, the fluid from the port 1 which is going to enter the port 2, at this time the port 3 will be blocked. So as in figure. Okay. When you release this push button, so the port 1 will be blocked. So the port 1 will be blocked. The fluid in the port 2 which is going to enter the port 3. Okay, this will be about sliding spool valve. Next we move on to the suspended disc direction control valve. So under direction control valve, what we studied the puppet valve as well as the sliding spool valve. So the next one is suspended disc directional control valve. So which is nothing but the 4x2 valve. So we can call it as, so this will be 4x2 valve. That means which is having 4 ports, that is pump line, reservoir line, then port A cylinder line, port B cylinder line. So 4 ports and 2 positions. The switching positions are 2, that is 4x2 valve. So this will be the schematic representation which shows the suspended disc direction control valve. So this one is the spool, the sliding spool. So then this one, the sliding spool which is contain the disc, so which is mounted on the sliding spool. So when you going to push this one, push towards the right, what will happen? So when you are going to push this sliding spool towards the right by using some pneumatic pressure or solenoid or some mechanical actuation, then what will happen? Then the fluid from the pump which is going to enter the port A. The fluid from the pump which is going to enter the port A, at the same time the fluid present in the port P which is going to enter the reservoir. So which is shown in the first position. So when you are going to move this sliding spool towards the right, then the fluid from the pump which is going to reach the port A, then the fluid present in the port B which is going to reach the reservoir. So this actuation, that is by means of some solenoid or mechanical actuation or by pneumatic pressure. So for this we are going to mount the actuation on both sides of this suspended disc direction control valve. Suspended disc direction control valve. Now if you are going to push towards the left side, what will happen? towards the left side, what will happen? Then here you can observe in the figure, so the fluid from the pump which is going to reach the port B, then the fluid already present in the port A which is going to reach the reservoir, So when you move the spool towards the left side, what will happen? So the fluid from the pump, so due to the movement of the sliding spool, these suspended disc which is also start to move towards the left, then the fluid from the pump line which is going to enter the port P, then the fluid already present in the port A which is going to enter the reservoir, just because this disc which is going to move towards the left and which is going to block the pump line to the port A. So by this way 4x2 valve, so which is going to work, then these type of valves which is going to give the relative small movement or relative small actuations in the control valves. So when you want to give the small actuations or relatively small actuations, then we are going for this suspended disc directional control valve. Okay. So from this, in this session we have learnt about air motors and types of air motors. In pneumatic control valves, we finish the direction control valve, that is puppet valve and sliding spool and suspended disc direction control valve. In the next session, we are going to start the pressure control valves as well as the flow control valves.